everyone is wrong about orcs. But somehow, vegans got it right. There's a vegan meme which puts domesticated animals over here and farmland animals over there, and then challenges the point where people are willing to draw the line of moral consideration. Vegans want people to not eat any of these animals, but people miss that point and instead get stuck quibbling about shifting that line one step and eating dogs. Usually when people talk about the hashtag orcs controversy, they are having a similar conversation. Is this dog a friend, or is he a delicious and nutritious snack? Is this orc a person, or is he a person-shaped monster? However, that is the incorrect conversation. Because the vegans don't want you to just move your line to a different position, they want you to think about whether there should be a line at all. Friends or food, people or monsters. But what exactly is a monster? It can't be based off alignment because there are good monsters and bad monsters in the book. It can't be based off their mentals because there are monsters with personality and monsters without personalities in the book. Instead, I think it's based on whether a creature is compatible with human society. So here is my rule of thumb. If it is human-shaped and it is compatible with society, it's a person. If it is not human-shaped and it is compatible with society, it is an animal, and everything else is either a monster or an animal. I like the vegan metaphor for one other reason though, and that's because militant vegans have a bad reputation for being very annoying. But what a lot of people don't realise is that the militant anti-vegans are just as annoying. You say you only eat chicken, but that's actually the most unethical meat. Oh my god. Shut up. Yeah, but don't you miss bacon? Bacon is so good. Oh, don't you just love the smell of bacon? Oh my god, also shut up. So, to round out this metaphor, let's say that progressive fantasy fans are the vegans, and they sometimes feel frustrated that orcs may be culturally regressive. Maybe they see some demi-humans as unfair caricatures of real-world racial stereotypes, or maybe the language around biological essentialism is uncomfortably familiar. Then on this side, we have the traditional fans. Traditional fantasy fans are the militant anti-vegans, and they feel frustrated at the gentrification of orcs. They don't like to see these violent brutes be declawed, and they may feel attacked when progressives take a moral stance on the issue. In both these cases, I think traditional fans and progressive fans each have valid feelings, and there's interesting conversations to be had about those feelings, but that's not the conversation they're having. No, instead they are hyper-focused, hyper-zoomed in, and they're talking about whether it's okay to eat dogs. This zoomed-in conversation where people only talk about orcs instead of the line we use to divide people and monsters is not very productive. Instead, it is just a flashpoint for culture war conversations that you can comfortably ignore. And even then, it's not productive to argue about the fact of the matter, saying orcs are people or orcs are monsters. Instead, it would be much more interesting to argue orcs should be people or orcs should be monsters. But now, let's zoom out and have a conversation about this entire spectrum. Because if orcs are people, then there is some collateral damage, namely elves, who are just sexy humans now. In Raymond E. Feist's fantasy classic Magician, Thomas is a young human who is fascinated by elves, those ageless demi-humans shrouded in fey mystery. But speaking from a 5th edition D&D perspective, I have not seen that sense of otherness replicated in any setting. That's because elves tend to integrate totally with human society, and even in their own enclaves, they adopt the shape of human civilization. That's because in Dungeons & Dragons, elves are people. They're Art Nouveau people. And that's my main criticism with 5th edition. There are too many people. You can play a cat person, you can play a demon person, you can play a robot person. How are elves supposed to get any respect in this setting? Great, buddy, you've got pointy ears, real special, real exotic, mate. I mean, I come from Tolkien-esque fantasy roots, which means that elves, humans, and halflings are all kosher, but everything else is pretty much a Satan. And coming from that perspective, I just don't know how to engage with the everything soup, kitchen sink fantasy world building. So, to recapture that feeling of otherness of elves, I would need to communicate to my players that in this setting, elves are not people. And to do that via gameplay, I think I would limit player options. I would say, In this setting, you can only play people, no demi-humans, no monstrous races, and elves are not a playable race. By paring down player options, I think you protect the exoticism of some races, and you protect the monstrousness of other races, elves and orcs. But regardless of where you choose to draw your line between people and people-shaped monsters, it is my strong conviction that good fantasy needs a line to be drawn somewhere, because you lose something by wholesale humanizing the inhuman. I don't want any grey area in gameplay. If you are not a person, you are a monster. If you are not a monster, you are a person. Because at the end of the day, orcs and elves are far more interesting when they fall into the monster category of my imagination. Amoral, unknowable, inhuman. This video was an adaptation of my latest newsletter called Start a Quest. You can sign up at start-a-quest.com and you get a free PDF all about goblins. And hey, click on this video right here. I don't know what I've put up, but I bet it's good. I bet you'll love it. If you don't love it, you'll get a refund. You get a refund on this free video.